Facebook and you're ready.
Cool.
Good
Hey,
morning.
everybody. Welcome. This is Dr. Jenny Tufenkian here with a reminder to love. Today's topic, I did a little switch on you guys on terms of the subject matter because there's been a little bit of concerning news out there. I don't know, I'm curious how many of you guys have actually seen it, but there's been some kind of scary articles out there about a new superbug that has been sweeping the world. And I wanted to talk to you today about it to get an idea of what is going on. What is this superbug? Do you need to be worried about it? Who does need to be worried about it? What we can do to protect ourselves? And I have put together a whole pile of resources for you for this talk. The headlines are for this fungus called Candida auris. And this Candida has, let me just read a couple of the headlines to you because to me they were alarming. I don't know if you were scared, but I was like, what? It says, unbeatable, here, I've got one here. Unbeatable superbug, fungus sickens hundreds. Mysterious infection spanning the globe in a climate of secrecy. That's the New York Times. So these articles are actually interesting and great, and I recommend you read them, and I have links to them in the PDF that I created for you this week. But we're going to kind of dive in today. I did a whole bunch of research this weekend, spent my weekend figuring this out because I really felt like this was one of those times when we are in a very special place. Like you, all of us, this community, the fact that we use our essential oils, the fact that we pay attention to our health puts us in a different place than the general population. And frankly, the general population needs and wants to know this information. So a lot of what I'm sharing with you, I really hope you take this on as like, we can be little missionaries and we can all spread the word, because the word needs to be spread that we have some solutions for what's going on here. So what are superbugs? Superbugs are basically any bacteria, virus, fungus that has evolved and mutated to the point where conventional medicine doesn't have an easy answer for it. This is what happened with Staph aureus when we got MRSA, which is a bacterial resistant form of bacteria. And I'm sure you heard about that. It's super scary. It's like, oh my gosh, there's these infections that people don't know how to take care of anymore, and they spread rampant in some hospital situations. So this little bug is a fungus that has done a similar type of thing. Now, what they think happened is that this little Candida auris was literally a garden variety little fungus. Like literally, it lived in the soil, not bothering anybody, just hanging out, doing its thing. And then it did this trippy thing where it actually morphed genetically so many times, so fast like that, in different parts of the world at the same time, which is curious. And what they think happened is that we have been overusing fungicides in agriculture. So what we do is we tend to spray our fields, like our wheat with fungicides, our crops with fungicides, our silos that hold the grain or hold the corn or whatever it is, we spray that with fungicides so that they don't deteriorate, which makes sense. You want to stop that biological process so you have more food to feed people, you have more to sell. The problem is that they've been using this fungicide so much that some of these this little innocent Candida auris just like became this like superbug with little superbug suit, and now it is infecting people. It was first found in 2009 in the ear of somebody in Japan, and since then it has grown and become much more of a concern as it gets into people's bodies and it gets them quite ill and can actually kill people. So that's part of what the deal is. So the people that are at risk for this, not everybody's at risk yet or now, and I'll talk about that in a second. So the people that are at risk are immune compromised. So if you or your loved ones or you're working with people who are on drugs that decrease your immune system, if you have an autoimmune disease where you are taking Humira, Orencia, something like that, which is suppressing your immune system, if you are in chemotherapeutic drugs, that decreases your immune system. If you have an infection like HIV, all of these things decrease your immunity and increase your risk of catching something like this. There are also people who, really what they talk about, the people who tend to get this in hospital situations are the sickest of the sick. So they're very worried about how easily it is to spread in hospitals. And it's really the people who are in the ICU units who are they're very concerned about. Another really high risk population are people who have central ports put in. So people who are getting regular chemo or who are getting drugs on a regular basis, sometimes they get a central port put in so it's easier to administer the drugs. But those ports become a passageway into the inside of the body. And the candida and other things, they create these biofilms and they create these little layers where it's able to creep in and get into the circulation. We'll talk about that more about that in just a minute. So people who are at risk are really the immune compromised, the very sick, people who are undergoing cancer treatment, organ transplants, those kinds of people. At this point, those are the people at risk. So the question is, how worried should you be then? You know, I mean, these scary headlines. Well, let me tell you this. Right now, if you're on that list, you definitely should be paying attention, but we're not quite sure what's going to happen next. And that's part of the fear. We're so much more afraid when we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? I mean, that's what causes fear. It's the fear of the unknown. And one of the reasons this bug, as scary as the headlines are, it really hasn't killed that many people relative. Of course, any life lost, especially if it's your loved one, is devastating. But that said, statistically, it's very small. 543 people have died this year from this infection. But it has doubled in the past year. And what they're finding is that all of their normal treatments that they have aren't working. So they're not working very well. So for the people that get the Candida auris around the world, 80% of those people that get it are dying. People in the United States, 30% of the people that are getting it are dying. So that's a pretty high rate. But the really terrifying thing for the hospitals is the fact that it is doubled in 12 months because it's genetically altering so fast. Something that's like that can genetically alter to the point where it's really not a concern anymore, or it can alter so that it's affecting more of us. So again, don't worry, we've got ideas and solutions and all that stuff for you. So hang in there. There's a lot we can do to take care of ourselves. So, you know, how worried you should be, it kind of depends on your situation and who you're with. I wouldn't walk around being terrified about this, yet there's some really good practices I'm going to share with you and that are in the PDF download of things that you can do if you get into a higher risk situation or if you work around a lot of people who are sick. The other reason this is creating terror in hospitals, and they frankly are trying to keep it under wraps because they don't want to create widespread panic, is that it spreads so easily. It can live on a hard, cold surface. It can live on our clothes. It's like the mycotoxins I talked about. It sort of hangs out. So if some patient has this staph or Candida auris in the hospital and a physician, a nurse goes in there and takes care of that person and then walks into another room with somebody else who's vulnerable, they can pass it because it gets on their clothes. If they touch the bed, they touch the door handle. So what they're doing in hospitals is they're doing the best they can and they're fumigating the whole room with their most powerful, like 3-level different types of fungicides, trying to keep the levels down. The problem is that the exact same fungicides that we use to treat humans is pretty much what we've been putting on our crops. So that's why there's this resistance to it, because we don't really have that many different things. I mean, yeah, there's slightly different formulations, but their actual mechanisms of action are pretty much the same. So the fungus is like, gotcha, I had that back in the field, so it's not going to bother me right here. Don't worry about it. So, so there's some definite problems with it. But so what we can talk about is what is our super bug defense? Like, what can you do to defend yourself against superbugs? And we have all of these bugs on us all the time. We have a ton of fungus on us. We think about toe fungus, right? Or we talk about having ringworm on our fingers, or we can get vaginal infections or jock itch. We get stuff on our scalp. We're really used to having different kinds of fungal infections all the time, and they don't really cause problems. We also can get candida in our intestines, which causes problems. People often say, oh, I have systemic candida problem. And what they mean is that they have a lot of candida in their digestive tract. And let me tell you something I know about candida, which is candida is a really opportunistic infection. It loves to land on the susceptible host. I had a patient come in. Candida likes to show up in like the digestive neighborhood. I talk about the gut as being this hood, and it's got the good guys and the bad guys, and it's got the kind of in between, can go either way. Well, candida loves to show up in a gut neighborhood that has already been trashed by something else, and the cops don't even answer the calls anymore. You know, I had a patient come in last week and we were reviewing her digestive stool analysis, and I was looking at it with her, and I noticed that the first thing I noticed was that she didn't have enough of her good bacteria. Those are like the cops. She didn't have enough good bacteria. And I thought, what's up? And then I looked down and she had like a 5+ candida, which is a really high amount of candida. And I immediately knew there was something else going on in her gut. I knew that there would be something else. And sure enough, she had some amoebas in there, which are kind of like parasites. And I'm pretty sure that she got the amoebas first, and that started to trash her gut down and wear down her system and increase her food sensitivities. And then the candida and then her regular gut bugs, good ones, went down. And then the candida was like, woohoo, frat party time, and went in there and totally took over. So that's kind of how candida likes to work. It really likes people that are run down and wiped out. So just keep that in mind. The things that you can do is, well, let me just back up and say, Candida auris is relatively new on the field. So we're taking what we know from treating multiple resistant Staph aureus, and what we know from different funguses, and what we know from just treating what we know in the natural medicine world, and applying that to this Candida auris situation. I'm crazy confident about it, because when MRSA came out, the whole world was freaking out. And I have to say, a lot of us in medical school, naturopathic medical school, were kind of going, yeah, look, we know we have so much medicine out here in the plant world. We have so much powerful medicine here that can help us. So we didn't feel quite as afraid as our MD friends who are freaking out about this. And I frankly feel the same way about Candida auris. When I do a search on it, there's not a lot that comes up yet. I think the research is being done now because it's relatively new. And we didn't realize what a concern it was going to be really until the last few years, when we've had this large increase of outbreaks and how much it's been spreading. So what we know is that plants are amazing. So plants have multiple different ways that they can attack a virus, bacteria, or a fungus. They have multiple modes of action. Most man-made chemicals, if they're trying to kill a fungus or they're trying to kill a bacteria, have one, and oh my gosh, they're super excited if it has 2 or 3 different mechanisms of action. But those types of things tend to get reused over and over and over again. And so the bugs mutate and become resistant to it. It's really, 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 really hard for any kind of bug to become resistant to the plants. So that's why we find that using plant material as our antibacterials and our antifungal is so helpful. Not to say there aren't times for conventional medicine. I think there's times for everything. And I'll just put my little disclaimer here in that nothing I say is meant to treat or diagnose. This is all information for you and your medical team. And the same goes for the handout. It's just information for you guys to share. But what I will say is that you can do a lot with these plants to help yourself against a fungus. So if you are on the high risk end, or if you work with a lot of people in the public, so if you're a TriMet bus driver, if you are a physician, if you are working in the library, if you are around a lot of people around a lot of the times, you might want to start bringing some of these practices in. And some of these practices too, you want to just keep in mind, if the outbreak gets worse, I want you to have the PDF with the information in it so that you know what to do in case something happens, so you know how to protect yourself. So the first thing, and the essential oils, of course, are like the most powerful expression we have of plant medicine. And so using your essential oils is great. So if you come home from a place where you might have been contaminated, you visit somebody in a hospital, you know somebody who is sick, you have somebody in a nursing home, you work in one of those facilities, you want to do what I did when I worked in clinics where I knew it wasn't great stuff that I was around. You come home, and I used to say, I walk in and go, "Hi everybody, I love you, don't touch me." And I would go down to the laundry room and take off my clothes, throw them in the washing machine, and then and wash them. What I want you to do is add in your essential oils. So add in some DDR Prime, just 5 or 6 drops. DDR Prime, oregano, On Guard, thyme oil would be great, lemon, lavender. Those things are going to help break down the fungus in the wash. And then dry them and you're good to go. when you come out with your clean clothes on, it's a good time to diffuse some of our stronger oils. So you can diffuse DDR prime or oregano. Some of the great oil. Thyme is so well researched as an antifungal. And I'll go over some more that you can put in your diffuser in a few minutes. But diffusing some oils for like 15 to 20 minutes is a good practice. And that will really help decrease the load that's around in the environment. Sorry. So the other thing that you can do is, if you feel like, is to make a counter wipe. So in the PDF I created a couple different recipes. There's a simple solution spray and there's a deep cleaning spray. And those sprays are going to be great for wiping down those hard surfaces, the doorknobs, the countertops. You know, again, if you're a bus driver, you might want to wipe down all the stuff that you're touching. If you work in the library, wipe down the counter. I had a patient come in last week who was super sick. And as soon as she left, I took my, one of those 7th generation little wipe thingies that I got at Fred Meyer's. I took that and I put some DDR prime on it. And then I just wiped everything down and this huge aromatic fume came out. And I knew that nothing in the room was still alive that would be harmful to any of us. It was great. So and it may have been overkill, but that's what I would recommend that you do, is that you start wiping things down and know that you have this stuff with you. If you are in a situation where you think that you might be at risk for actually taking this, and that I would suggest that you consider taking some things internally. And again, talk to your medical care team, or if you know somebody that might be fighting this, then this is a good place to take some internal essential oils. And again, taking some of the same oils I talked about in the combinations, like DDR prime is another one. On Guard Plus would be great. The GX Assist would be super helpful. So these things are going to boost your immune system. They're going to help fight off any bugs that are inside your system, fungal, bacterial, all of that. But this is a defense that I would do. And I would also really upregulate your probiotics. You want to have the good guys in the neighborhood too to help. Remember, 80% of your immune system is actually in your gut. So you want to take your gut healthy. And you want to do as much as you can so that you're not a susceptible host. To pay as much attention as you can to your own health that you can. So there were some essential oils when I was doing the research on this that just like came out in the spotlight. And we're like, wow, you're amazing. And some of those you'll find in the PDF that I created for you. I have about 6 different articles. The first one is a great article from Consumer Reports on it. And then the last one is using essential oils and for antifungal activity or something like that. It's the last one on the list. It's a great article. It's about 46 pages. Really great if you like to geek out. They mapped out all these different essential oils and their mechanism of action in terms of how it is that they actually attack the fungus. So some of them destroy the cell wall. Some of them go after the mitochondria. And we know how important mitochondria is for us. Well, it is for the fungus too. It goes after their mitochondria so they can't replicate. Some of them stop what's called quorum sensoring when the fungus speak to each other. So bacteria and fungus, Lyme disease, that does the same thing where the little critters, they communicate with each other and they're like, hey, come over here, let's build some more stuff over here. And they start building something called biofilm. It's this dense slime layer that's really hard to get rid of and tends to live in our sinuses and in our gut, in our tissues. And that's exactly how, if you have that port, that's exactly how it gets into your bloodstream and causes so much problem, is that it creates a biofilm on the tube. And then they just creep on in. They just creep into your blood. So being able to destroy that biofilm and destroy the communication between them is super powerful. So your citrus oils are the ones that tend to destroy that biofilm quorum sensoring type thing, which is so cool to know about, right? Again, thyme oil, melaleuca oil, oregano, black pepper. A lot of the ones in DDR prime that I already mentioned are so important and are in there. And there was a surprise star, which was Litsea. I never thought about Litsea for this. I really didn't. I love Litsea. It smells so uplifting. It kind of has a citrus smell. And I know a lot of us have used Litsea for depression, especially people who have done their yarrow palm detox and they're feeling kind of gross. Litsea is just very uplifting and healing for that. Well, Litsea has at least 3 different mechanisms of action that we know of makes it a great antifungal, antimycotoxin. So bring in the Litsea, folks. That's what I can say about Litsea. It's really, I would really, again, I consider you forewarned is forearmed. They're actually, the CDC, when I was doing my research, I found out the CDC is going to be doing a fungus awareness week in September. And I say we're ahead of the game, right? They are going to be doing this whole outreach to medical facilities, trying to increase awareness. So you guys, please share this information to increase that awareness. And I want to say something about the symptoms of this Candida auris, because one of the, those of us that are medical practitioners need to pay attention to this, but you guys need to, everybody needs to know what the symptoms are. And fortunately, they're really vague. It's a fever and aches and pains, which could be anything, right? And it tends to present looking a lot like a bacterial infection. And so people are going into urgent care, or they're already in the hospital, and they come down with what the doctors think is a secondary bacterial infection to whatever's going on with them. And they give them IV antibiotics. Of course, then the IV antibiotics don't work. And at that point, it's already decreased their immune system even further. And then they find out that maybe it's the Candida auris. So what I think we all need to do, myself included as a practitioner, is we just need to have this like in our awareness, that if somebody comes in with a fever and that looks like a bacterial infection, it might be this Candida auris. And there is a simple blood test you can do to test it. If you're going into the hospital with a raging fever, ask your physicians to check for Candida auris. If there is Candida auris in the hospital, ask and find out if there is, and definitely bring in your oils with you. Ask them if it's okay if you bring your oils in and diffuse in the room and wipe things down and protect yourself when you're in that situation. So I know we're going to get a lot more information about this as time is going on. I'm sure that the research facilities around the world are just going 24/7. I personally can't wait to get to the doTERRA convention and talk to my favorite geek table of the research folks at the convention and ask them what they're doing with this. What do they know? What are they researching? I'm sure they're on it. And I want you to know that I consider the PDF to be a working document. There's one version that's out now that you guys can, click and download, and definitely do that. I'm going to make some revisions to it this week and actually add in a bit more information. So if you download it, as soon as you download it, you'll be on my list and I'll know that you want the new one. So I'll send the new one to you too, okay? So just go ahead and download that. Please, please, please do share this information. I really feel like, again, we're missionaries. We need to empower people and let them know they don't need to be afraid, and they can take care of themselves. And if you are at higher risk, I highly recommend you bring this stuff in. If you're a care provider, I encourage you to start thinking about this. It's just one of those things we need to put on our watch, and keep our services a little bit cleaner with the essential oils so that we're decreasing our risk of getting this Candida auris. We have so many choices in our life every day about how is it that we want to live our life. What kind of life do we want to have? What choices are we making about it? I had a patient who came in last week with some very sad information. She had a relative that had suddenly died. And she was, of course, grieving. And she just looked at me. She goes like, it was such an aha for me. I realized we've been talking about, what I should be eating and what supplements I should take and that I should be moving my body. And I've been fighting it. I do it and then I don't, and I do it and I don't, and I fight it. And she's like, my brother-in-law dying was such a wake-up call for me. I realized that this is my time to take care of myself, that this is not me living in lack by having to eat this diet. This is me living in health and abundance. This is a choice I get to make so that I can be here for as long as I can and feel vital the whole time that I'm here. And this is what I love, that she had that aha. And we can choose how we are with all the information that comes in. We can choose if we're in fear. We can choose if we're in joy. And I just say, make choices every day to increase your health. We can always increase our vibration. I love the doTERRA pyramid on health as being a really great thing to check out and look at and follow that and see, what am I doing today for my stress management? What choices am I making for my diet? That way you are not the susceptible host. The Candida goes to a different house. It doesn't come to you if you're clean and you're strong, or it's less likely to, I should say. It's less likely to come to you if you're clean. And so live well, eat well, choose things, download the PDF, get some of these things instilled into your daily practice, share, be a mission, proselytize, share this information so that the bigger, larger community can understand the power of the essential oils to keep us healthy in good times and hard. And I have to say that there are going to be more superbugs out there. And I want you to know that you have the ability to heal yourself using your essential oils. You have that power. It's so amazing. It is such a gift. And always remember to love, you guys, because our mindset really affects our immune system. So thank you so much for joining me. Download the PDF. Love to be with you. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hey, Jenny, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
What can someone taking the autoimmune suppressant drugs use?
So that's something, so keeping their environment really clean will be helpful for them. So, again, they need to talk to their care providers to see if it's a right fit to do anything internally. If somebody's taking immune suppressive drugs, it's a really good time to be 100% on the lifestyle piece, right? Get the diet, make sure your digestion works well, get your diet dialed in, make sure you're getting as much sleep as you can, make sure you're managing your stress. All of that really adds up to decreasing your risk of getting sick. And then in terms of being sure, I would make sure that people are clean that are coming into my space and that my space is clean. So if you're in a care facility, you're at a higher risk. Like if you're on immune suppressive drugs and you have to go into a hospital, you are at a higher risk. So let your care providers know that. And I would take essential oils with me. If it was me, I would take essential oils with me and I would be using them. So that's what I would do. Anything else?
Great. So you'll post the PDF in the on Facebook in the live thread.
Correct. It should already be up. I did on the Essential Wellness page. It's a PDF. And like I said, I'm going to start revising it in the next few days. So there'll be revisions coming with a little bit more information on it. But there's some great articles in there. There are the recipes for the cleaners that I have in there and just outline for best practices.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I hope this really helps you in terms of being able to handle this and not getting too freaked out and knowing that you've got expanding your toolbox for your health.